name is Mark Chalmers, and I am CEO of Energy Fuels. Energy Fuels is a company that is unique from all others that you'd look at because we are focused on building a critical mineral hub that is built around our uranium business, but also includes the rare earth, a suite of elements, including the ND and the PR and the DY and the TB, and potentially samarium, and also the heavy mineral sands, which is the ilmenite, rutile, and zircon. So we're very excited about the momentum we have, Matt, and great to catch up with you and provide an update.
Well, I'm pleased to have you here. You've been a very busy man recently. $700 million convertible closed. Was that tough?
Look, it's always tough to get these things done, but we basically did it in a week, and the appetite and the timing was perfect, and we're really excited with the outcome. I think there are a lot of people out there in the market that are envious of the outcome that we got with our convert that we had, that the sole book runner was Goldman Sachs.
Is that right? That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, some pretty big names being drawn into the uranium space, and I guess critical minerals too. You just happen to do both.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's our advantage. I mean, I think the diversification plan that we've been undertaking over the last 5 years, people are finally kind of waking up and saying, wow, having multiple critical elements built around the uranium business makes a lot of sense. And so, yeah, I mean, we couldn't be more excited. I'm tired, Matt, because it's a lot of work, a lot of late nights, a lot of weekends, but it's very rewarding that the market is saying this is a great strategy, and it's getting supported by many, and we're going upstream with some bigger banks, and the interest, as I said, in the convert was extraordinary. It was oversubscribed 6-7 times. Oversubscribed.
Right. So people are listening and paying attention. We'll talk about the NdPr DyTb in a second, but first things first. You're a uranium company initially. You're producing uranium. How are things at the White Mesa Mill, and is that going to be the main beneficiary of all this money you've now got in your bank?
Yeah, I mean, the money we raised was mainly for two things: the phase 2 at White Mesa to build this expanded plant, which is the size of Linus, and also for potential financing of the Donald project in Australia, which is joint venture we have with Astron. So that's the focus of the proceeds on the convert. The uranium side of the business is self-sustaining and actually is in a turning point where it's starting to generate material cash, and it'll take us another couple quarters. The White Mesa Mill is starting up, and it started up a few days ago, and we plan to run it and process Pinyon Plain, low cost of sales material for a number of months, well into next year, and we just haven't picked a day to when the mill will stop.
Okay, so with regards to obviously uranium production and I guess revenues, that's kind of covering G&A and some presumably, and allows you to focus on what is the focus for your team? Is it going and getting feed in from other uranium mines that want to kind of process through White Mesa? Is it obviously this phase 2 build out of the mine and focusing on the rare earths? Where's the value being attributed to as far as your new investors are concerned?
Yeah, look at the uranium side of the business of our mines, not others, are our cash machine. That's our cash machine. That's what's going to generate material cash. You're going to start seeing the ramp up of our uranium sales starting over the next couple of quarters, and it'll keep ramping up. And that generates cash for the next several years. And that cash, by executing our plans fully, will fund all our G&A as a company on both the uranium front, which I said requires no cash, really. I mean, no capital to speak of, but also funds our rare earth aspirations, the strategy, as well as our heavy mineral sand side of the business. So we're really excited that we're generating cash from the uranium business. It fits together. It funds us as a company. We've got this strong balance sheet. We've got this convert with 0.75% coupon, And so we really are in an absolutely strong position from a balance sheet and revenue generation looking forward for the next several years.
Right. Okay. So you just stick with uranium for a second, if I may. I think you've issued some guidance around sort of what 1.5 million, 1.6 million ounces. All that will come out of Pinyon Plain, LaSalle, Pandora, etc. Will you look to kind of top that up and expand that by processing or buying in other people's ore?
Well, the purchasing of other people's ores is immaterial, really, at this point in time. It's coming from our projects. It's coming from our projects. So
Okay.
people should look at the revenue we generate from our 100% owned projects and what that margin is. So last year, we started ramping up. We were talking about 1 million pounds. This year we're talking about and again, it depends on whether it's mine production or it's process production. We're just starting up the mill here with the first Pinyon Plain ore. That's going to go well into next year. And so you're going to see this ramp up of production. And we've talked about getting up to, towards 2 million pounds. We can do that. We can do that, and we're doing that. And now we're looking at what's beyond the 2 million pounds in due course. So the momentum is going our way. We'll continue to be the largest producer of uranium in the United States. We'll continue to be the lowest cost producer of uranium in the United States as we ramp up our strategy and keep advancing the rare earths and the heavy metal sands.
Right. Okay. So is it a case of just steady as she goes on the uranium? You're not going to go into any sort of dramatic exploration work to kind of drive the pounds up there because you need to focus on the rare earths? Or
yeah, look at what we're doing, and a big trade-off is when do we want to process rare earths? Okay, so in the absence of the immediate demand for rare earths, we're going to run uranium as much as possible, and we can process about 240,000 pounds of recovered uranium per month. We process. Okay, so you can see how big that adds up. As we run that mill, whether we run it for 6 months or we run it 8 months, 10 months, or 12 months. Okay, so so that's how the trade-off is. Now we have Pinyon Plain going. We got more trucks at Pinyon Plain. We're having great production there, great grades. We have Pandora and LaSalle. We're looking at other mines to restart. Underground mines, and we're still drilling at Nichols Ranch in Wyoming. So, I think the 2 million is, I can't be too forward looking, but we're well, coming along on the 2 million, at least the mining, and then we process it, and we're looking at the future from there.
Okay, right. So the kind of expansion work at White Mesa is not going to distract you from one uranium production or any kind of ambition in terms of driving that revenue. It doesn't get in the way.
Unless we decide for it to distract us. If for some reason somebody comes along and says, we want rare earths and we want NdPr or Dy and Tb or samarium, we will decide what we do from there to accommodate that request if it makes sense. Okay. So, first and foremost, the uranium revenue, we're still going forward with, we've been publicly saying we're going to put in a separation circuit for the heavies in the existing circuit that we have in the mill building. We're doing that. We're going to build that. We're doing that. And the phase 2, which is the, Linus equivalent plant, we're well advanced on the feasibility study on that. And we're well advanced on getting all the documents into the state of Utah on any final approvals we need for that new facility. And we plan to move forward with that too. So we're not slowing anything down.
Okay.
On the rare earth front,
yeah,
or the uranium front.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's talk about the phrases you mentioned. Obviously, Donald there. Heavy mineral sands project portfolio that you have is Donald, Toliara, and Bahia. Obviously, at Donald, you're kind of working towards a refresh on the feasibility. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, really, the feasibility is completed, and we are just making sure it's in compliance format, 43101 SK compliant. And it's around $300 million of capital costs. It's very, very high grade heavies. It's got really, really high grades of the DY and the TB, extraordinarily high. So what we're looking at is making a final investment decision. We're doing some exploration drilling out there on that site, which we're really excited about, and it's fully permitted, so it's ready to go. It's ready to go, and it can go in construction shortly. And we're looking at outside lenders for that project. But look at our balance sheet. We have the ability to advance that if we elect to at very attractive terms with this convert.
Right. And so, what's the kind of ownership of Donald? And
Well,
do you,
we're earning into 49% ownership of Donald, but we get 100% of the monazite. Okay,
got it.
there's a transfer pricing mechanism where we get 100% of the monazite, and that means including 100% of the heavies. So it's ilmenite rutile zircon project that also has monazite, but we get 100% of the monazite. They get 100% of the other elements, and then there's some sharing of whatever that balance is between between those elements. But earning 49%, but 100% of the rare earths. And initially, phase one is about 7,000 tons a year of monazite. And so with Chemours, with other sources as we go forward, it really turns this into, facility size of Silmet or greater very quickly.
Right. Okay. And the FID on that will be what at some point later this year or into next?
Yeah, I mean, it's really subject to financing and final, offtake arrangements that we're working on. So we're working through those kind of pieces right now. But what's extremely attractive is the fact that it's shovel ready, and it's got these heavies, and it's in Australia, and it's fully permitted and can go into construction really really soon.
Right. Okay. And relatively simple mining as well. Can we just sort of layer on Toliara and Bahia? Just give us updates on where you're at with
Yeah,
decision making
well,
on
we're
those.
still and same thing. We're finalizing a feasibility study on Toliara, and again, we're making sure it's in compliance status for the U.S. reporting, 43101 SK, and we're also finalizing the feasibility study on phase two at the mill. Again, making sure that's in compliance status. So these studies are all coming to fruition later this year, by the end of the year. So people are going to have updated capital operating costs, sort of timing things. And then Bahia is in exploration and permitting mode. So we're utilizing our colleagues in Perth that we acquired through the base acquisition to help with that as well too. So Toliara, we still don't have the full permits from Toliara, but we're really moving that forward for all the right reasons, and it's an extraordinary project, as you're aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you're putting in place provisions in terms of securing the logistics and shipping from Australia, Brazil, and Madagascar. That's no easy feat. There, where are you with those sorts of discussions or planning?
Oh, look, we've got. Logistics of shipping that is not an issue for us at all. We use TAM International, who does Class 7 shipments all the time. We've got a full project team working on the feasibility. We're starting some of the geotechnical drilling. It's all working forward. But for and with the investors in the convert, the initial convert was focused on projects that we have that are ready to go now, not projects that we get final approvals on. We're not financing before we have those approvals, but we certainly have the balance sheet to take this stuff forward very aggressively as it all unfolds.
Right. And so I'm jumping around a bit here, but where are you with the conversations with Vulcan and POSCO at the moment?
They're ongoing. Certainly the market liked the fact that with particularly POSCO, when we announced that we had these centered blocks that I think I've shown you, and there are EVs that when POSCO is going to start putting that into EVs this year, it's still small scale. I forget what it was, 3,500 EVs or something on that order. I may be wrong. So if I'm, but it's it's a material amount of EVs. But then other parts and other portions of the integration are still ongoing. So I think what's happening in the market, and I think you're seeing it, is that if you're just doing one step of the process in the rare earths, you're kind of an island, okay, and you don't have a lot of control in front of you or behind you if you have one step. So we've certainly put in where we have the mines and the ability to process, and the ability to do oxides, and now building out the ability to do the heavies, and then the next steps are basically metal, alloys, and then the magnets. So we've got Deb Benetham who worked for General Motors, helping us on that back end. And so we're very aggressively looking at how we can integrate as many steps as we can, not touching China. The other thing that's interesting is the prices of rare earths are going up materially. NdPr, I haven't seen the latest, but between $85-$90 a kilogram. It's gone up from 55 post the MP deal. And then the DY and the TB prices are between 3 to 4x greater than China prices. So if you can produce non-China material, people are paying a premium for that today.
Yeah, it's a very interesting complex at the moment. So, and on top of Vulcan and POSCO, I've got to talk about the US defense industrial supply chain. It obviously got things going with the MP deal. You've had a good reaction. Lots of people had a good reaction from that. How are you positioning yourself as a US based project, US listed company with into a North American market, desperate for these securing this kind of critical minerals that they need? How do you feel that's all going to kind of play out at the moment? Does the US government still have a role to play?
Look, we're going to drive our bus, as you've heard me say many times, and really, I mean, for example, look at something we did in a week with this convert at 0.75%. Right, that's a great outcome on being able to finance stuff and do it quickly. But look, what we're saying to all people is that if the United States wants to reshore the ability to be independent of China, particularly on rare earths, or reduce dependency on Russia, we have a facility in the United States that's constructed, permitting, operating to do that. And we're going to be the largest producer of uranium in the United States, lowest cost. But at the same time, we focused on monazite. MP focused on bastnasite, and that is a great source of rare earths, but not heavies. They do not have heavies. So we're focused on monazite, which contains uranium, the really significant concentrations of NdPr, and also has very significant concentrations of the DyTb and the samarium, which is what are the real key missing links to this, these rare earth elements and stuff. So we're saying that the government or the off-takers need a company like ours focused on monazite. It complements the bastnasite side of the story, and the other side is maybe the ionic clay. So the Chinese have a very strong sustainable monazite strategy, monazite stand strategy, and so do we. So we're trying to differentiate between others that we can deal with the radioactivity, recover the uranium, and process monazite in the United States when nobody else can.
It's interesting times. You've gone and you built and constructed in the last, I guess on the rare earth side, in 3 short years. It feels like maybe creeping into 4 years.
Yeah, we announced about 5 years ago, so time goes by quickly.
Yeah,
but
yes.
Some people say that we do more in 1 year than most people do in 10, and I think we do more in 1 year than most people do in 15 or 20. So no, we're proud of that. We're doers. We've been playing the long game. You've heard it from some of your viewers that, oh, why are we getting out of the uranium business? We shouldn't. And I think really showing that we've got this growing uranium business is going to really vindicate us in terms of that we are going to be a large uranium producer at the right time with great margins. And at the same time, we took a very aggressive but not reckless strategy on adding to our portfolio and strategy globally.
Yeah, and I think the point I wanted to make was you're actually producing uranium, and that's rarefied air as far as North America is concerned, quite frankly. But also the rare earths. It's the building and putting in place all of the building, putting the building blocks in place to be in position to produce rare earths. Again, a rarity outside of China. And you're having the validation with people like Vulcan, obviously North American based, but also POSCO, Korean based. Do you have to kind of, I guess, just keep surveying the landscape and seeing where your product might be most valuable? Clearly, people are excited about the kind of North American demand component, but at some point, you have to sort of make some calls on, who you sell to, who you partner with, and really how you position yourself in the global supply chain.
Yeah, look, you do. First of all, you don't want your product going to China. People want non-China supply, and look, it's a competitive market. When you start getting into like the magnets, they all very clicky on who they deal with and where they get their feeds from and whatnot. So yeah, we're going to be very careful to ensure that we have this non-ex-China supply chain, doesn't touch China. We'll work with people that are going to keep it in the United States, or at least keep it in sort of allied countries and or Europe. But we don't want to touch China. So the problem is that there's a lot of people have plans to do all this stuff, but they don't have the infrastructure and the capability of doing that. Like, for example, with POSCO, they were able to make the metals and alloys with their relationship with Star and to a sintered magnet that goes into electric vehicles. So there are a lot of people that are talking about metals, alloys in the United States, magnets in the United States, but it's really not there yet. Okay, it's not there yet. So in the meantime, what do? Do you go to the South Koreans? Do you go to the Japanese for now, or have some long-term relationship, but you still want to have product that's going to stay in the United States?
Yeah, well, we'll come on to it another time. First of all, just want to end up saying, congratulations on that convert. I used to do converts, and I've not seen one like that. I think what it says to me is that your value is not fully priced in. People believe there's growth to come, and they're willing to take a big piece of the action at this stage to see you going to go through that. So well done on that, genuinely. Well done.
No, look, I think the cap call strike is $30.70 a share. We're trading in the high 17s, 18s. We've got as high as 19 over the last couple of days. We've covered off on the actual convert price of the convert price on the convert itself, not the cap call, is 2034, and that was set at about 1535. So we're already halfway in a week to the convert price, and then with the cap call, which limits dilution. I think a lot of people don't understand the cap call, but we did pay forward to end up with a group of bankers and investors that will basically limit our dilution to equivalent at 30.70 a share, with the cap call option that we added on to the convert.
Yeah. Just reading between the lines of the announcement, you can see that this thing's got legs, got a ways to run, and people want in. So, Mark, I better let you get back to it. I'm sure the board's delighted with what you've collectively been able to do in the past few days, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right, thanks, Matt. And we're really looking forward to the future and how we position the company with our strategy, our people, and coming up with a strategy which is unique to Energy Fuels. Thank you.